Hello and welcome to ohmTown Daily News Show. Today is June 15th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 167. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI from the future will eventually roll in here. They are on location performing, sentient artificial intelligence tasks, I suppose. Yeah, they'll be here as soon as they are able to. But until then, this is what we're going to be talking about. There's no gambling in baseball. Be Maine's flag person. Ancient graffiti. One private equity firm. Dronesquitoes. Grand Canyon illness. Proof of package delivery. Not the happiest place on earth. Robot cars in China. And Jeep or Tesla. Fight. That and more. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming and hanging out. If you are in chat, you know the drill. You can hit !ODNS, and that will post all of the articles for the show that you are watching. ohmTown Daily News Show. If you are watching like Warcrafters or something like that, it has its own command to pull up all of the links, and so that's !show notes, and you'll get all of the commands that would be available to you to pull up the links for the show. And if you want the podcast, you can type !pod, and all 7 of them will show up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in your chat. I don't put all of that stuff in the show notes. I do put all of the links for each segment, each show, each episode in the show notes. But the things like the podcast and stuff like that, I don't. Maybe I should on the regular. Make it a template, I suppose. But anyway, the sentient AI has been able to realign some computational power to be here as well as everywhere else.
Those were some tough computations too.
Yep. Hey, look, I get it. So, I have a green screen behind me now, and I feel sometimes like I'm feeling a little green, but I wasn't feeling well yesterday, so.
Do you think it was the green screen, or?
I don't know. You ready to get into the show?
I am.
All right. Well, the first article, and this show could feasibly be pretty quick. The last show was under 50 minutes, if I recall correctly. But that's because I chopped out a lot of the preamble and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't soapbox all that much, but I did a little. So let's go. Because this article should be pretty freaking straightforward. If you're caught gambling and you're in the business, right?
And impacting the business
Correct.
In quite a significant way.
Don't you think you should just be punted? Right?
Well, sure.
But what is the smallest chapter in every business in existence?
Ethics.
It seems. Ethics.
Of course.
Even people who are identified as ethics experts, ethicists, have the smallest chapter dedicated to their ethics in ethics, it seems. And as the amount of money ramps up, oh, see, my hand gets chopped off because that is the limit right there of the ethics.
Well, maybe that's a sign not to raise your arm all the way up.
Oh, I've lost my hands. Oh. Anyway, so Major League Baseball is investigating umpire for violating gambling rules, according to reports. There's a plural there, reports. You're really screwed if there's multiple reports that are documenting it.
Exactly.
In the first of its kind in the legalized sports gambling era, MLB. That's code for Major League Baseball. I didn't know what that was. Major League Bananas.
Major League Boating.
Major League Boating. That's a whole new.
Or bowling.
Major League Bowling. That's when they actually throw bowling balls at the people at the plate.
Wow.
Yeah. And you have to hit it with a wiffle ball bat. So Major League Baseball has banned an umpire from working this year. That's all, just a year, while investigating his gambling activities. So
Yeah,
kind
I
of like a...
suspect he'll be permanently banned, though, right? Like if it's substantiated.
I don't know if this is the same person. Tucupita Marcano banned for life by Major League Baseball.
Doesn't look like an umpire.
Right. But I mean, this might just be a player. And I'm not really into baseball. I like watching a good game. I don't really care about the players or the teams. I'm so neutral. I have zero dog in this hunt. So it's all I care about is the fact that games results, the sportsmanlike conduct of the game may not have mattered much because there was an umpire that was tainting the results. So John Paul Hornstra over at Newsweek.com put the article together, and the reason why I question, Tucupita Marcano banned for life by Major League Baseball for betting on baseball. This is the one where it was like last year, I think, where they were investigating a person was betting on somebody else, and,
like a player.
Yeah. So when when the Supreme Court struck down a federal law that effectively banned commercial sports betting in most states, the floodgates opened. Within 5 years, the landmark 2018 ruling, teams, athletes, and multiple sports leagues across the country were endorsing legal sports gambling operators, which right there, I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit about the sport anymore because it's no longer about the sport. It's about gambling on the sport. Right. And there's so much stuff that can taint it. You can have proxies that are betting, and the thing about it is legally you have to report your winnings on your taxes and everything. It's unearned income.
But how many people are actually reporting it? I suspect not as many as are doing it.
Depending on where the gambling takes place. Yeah, if you're using legal sports betting channels, then they're reporting their earnings and losses to federal. So it says, while the league's anti-gambling laws remain strict for its own personnel, the opportunities for anyone to cross that line has exploded, and that includes umpires. So The Athletic is another site, and it is reporting that on Friday afternoon, notes that Hoburg is appealing the decision that 37-year-old umpire has been conspicuously absent from any on-field assignments this season. Quote, during this year's spring training, Major League Baseball commenced an investigation regarding potential violation of MLB's sports betting policies by umpire Pat Hoburg. So that video, like usual, has jack shit to do with the entirety of this article. Major League Baseball said in a statement, as reported by The Athletic. So let's drop Athletic a couple more times in this article.
Exactly.
So Mr. Hoburg was removed from the field during the pendency of that investigation. While MLB's investigation did not find any evidence that games worked by Mr. Hoburg were compromised or manipulated in any way, Major League Baseball determined that discipline was warranted, and Mr. Hoburg has chosen to appeal that determination. Therefore, we cannot comment further until the appeal process is concluded. So I don't really care, right? Hoburg has received high marks for his work as an umpire. If they were betting on the sport, I think that they should be banned from the sport.
Correct. I don't care if they're betting on, say, football or hockey or something.
Right. If they have just like a judge that is making determinations on their own outcomes, right? If it's on somebody else's, if they have an interest in its outcome or whatever, if they, I don't know, have ex parte conversations with witnesses and prosecution without the defense present, maybe. Same thing with everything. A cop that sits there and plants evidence and gets caught shouldn't be a cop ever again, right?
Right. I mean, that's hard to argue with that.
But no. If you do something wrong at work, right? Unless there's some union that sits there and can equivocate some type of action around your behavior and say, well, you have to follow the rules that we've all agreed to, and somehow you manage to pull your head out of your ass and survive a PIP or something like that, then fine, you're following the rules. But for crying out loud, no matter how strong a union is, no matter how this or that, if you really screw up, and I think that this is betting on the very game that you are, and that's not what they're doing
and
here.
especially if you do something that's so contrary to the whatever the job is, right? I mean, here you're supposed to be this neutral person making calls on plays, and if you have a financial stake in the team that said bad or the other team or whatever, I mean, that's a huge problem.
And even if they, and like I said, and by very game, I'm not talking about them betting on the game that they are umping, but who knows? And I don't think that the resources should be necessary to sit there and babysit that somebody is betting or not betting on the thing. If it's reported and verified that they betted, then they're done. Right? I don't want a bad cop.
Right.
I don't want a bad
judge. You shouldn't have to be like, did you bet on game 3?
Yeah.
You could have bet on game 7, but it could have an impact. I mean, I don't know.
Correct. It would. It absolutely would. So, I mean, okay, the full phrase is a rotten apple spoils the bunch. Not just, oh, it's just one bad apple. One bad apple spoils the bunch. Because you would have to try and figure out which one of the other apples are contaminated by this taint. And taint is the key word here. All right, let's keep going, though. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Maine opens contest to design a new flag based on an old classic. And this does dip into a little bit of politics, only because of the flag. But Mainers are going to decide in November whether to adopt a new flag, but the state needs to settle on a design first. The article is over at abcnews.go.com. It's by the Associated Press, and the deck statement says what I just got done saying. And so Mainers are going to decide in November. Anyone can submit a design proposal as long as it's based on the state's original flag, which featured a simple pine tree, a blue star against an off-white background. Secretary of State Shenna Bellows announced the flag contest on Friday, and the deadline is July 19th. So you have a month. A modern version of the flag used from 1901 to 1909 took the state by storm during Maine's bicentennial in 2020 and has appeared on hats, sweatshirts, and soon license plates. This popularity played a role in lawmakers' approval of a bill last year to let Mainers vote on replacing the current flag, which features the state's official motto, official seal, a lumberjack, a sailor, and the state's motto, Dirigo or Dirijo. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I've never heard the word phrase. I've never heard that word. It's Latin for I lead, a reference to the North Star. So that's not that. So the okay, sorry. The sentient AI is waving me off from landing on the. Yeah. Well, I told everybody that it has some political whatever, and there's really.
Do you have to be a Maine resident to submit a design? Probably.
It says anyone can submit a design proposal, but I'm pretty sure.
It would be very cool if, like, your ancestors could point to a flag and go, "That was my family's design," or whatever.
Yeah. And this has happened in other states now, right? Like, what was the other one?
A lot of states are. I think Minnesota was reinventing its flag. I think it was Minnesota.
Minnesota. All right. Well, there you go, folks. Follow the link through ohmTown, and you can go and redesign. Actually, I mean, you can go. Well, that has a link that takes you to abcnews.go.com. It's like a turducken of articles here. Anyway, if you do a search for a Maine flag redesign, you'll probably get content, or you can follow the links through ohmTown. All right, let's keep going, though. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Mysterious ancient graffiti may reveal lost temple at Athens Acropolis. The drawing was created in 6th century BC, at least several decades before construction of the Parthenon began. What? So the article is written by Aristos Georgiou. I doubt the article has jack shit to do with it, but it's over at newsweek.com. There's no deck statement, but So, a mysterious example of an ancient Greek graffiti may reveal the existence of a lost temple at the iconic Acropolis of Athens, a pair of researchers have proposed in a study. I have no doubt, a firm belief, and it is just a belief, so it could be nothing, that underneath these buildings are other megalithic buildings, structures, something. We build
Right.
on top of it.
This is just what we know of.
Right.
But there could have been past civilizations.
And we know this because there have been floor tiles essentially removed, and you can actually see the tops of other pillars underneath. And so apparently it says, but despite its renown, researchers are still uncovering new insights into the history of the Acropolis. But see, renown has nothing to do with the historical context of it. You need evidence. All you have to do is peel back the layers of the onion, which I do with all kinds of stuff when I'm vetting and verifying. And, you know, nobody cares about renown. I want the facts. I want to know the historical context of it. And this is just the latest. And you can sit there and whitewash and mark it and do all kinds of stuff, but there's something under it, potentially, right? So, for example, propose that the graffiti found outside Athens possibly depicts an archaic temple in the ancient citadel that predates the Parthenon. The tiny graffiti, which consists of a remarkable engraving of a building, was found on a marble rock outcrop at Barako Hill near Bari, around 12 miles southeast of Athens in Greece's Attica region. So somebody tagged a brick somewhere. Isn't that amazing?
Which is, yeah, it really is. And this would be really ridiculous if there is something below it. I mean, this is one of the very well-known ruins around the world. I think this would just be fascinating if there's something else found.
The inscription beside the engraving does not mention the Acropolis of Athens, and so, as we indicate in the article, there is always a margin of uncertainty about the identity of the building. However, that the drawing refers to the Acropolis seems on current evidence probable to us. The engraving is among more than 2,000 examples of graffiti that have been found on marble outcrops in the hills north and east of Vari, and the graffiti has been documented in recent years by researcher Merle Langdon. Is that the person that's, isn't the person's name Langdon?
Yes, from Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. I mean,
yes,
it might not be Merle.
I can't remember the...
Something Langdon, right? So what I find amazing...
Robert Langdon.
Robert, yeah. Okay, so their brother. Yeah. Of University of Tennessee, Knoxville, the other author of the AGA study. So I think it's amazing. Graffiti typically consists of simple drawings, including animals, buildings, erotic scenes, ships, and warriors. Pretty cool. There's a lot more to this article, but in a nutshell, they document what they have found and go a lot deeper. They show a picture of where it's like almost a polished marble alcove kind of a thing, and etched into it is a building.
Very interesting.
Yeah, pretty
amazing. I think this just shows us that we don't know a lot.
Yeah, and what we know is cultural relativism. Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's temporal and cultural relativism. We know what we know because we've peeled back the layer of the onion, and then we've accepted what somebody has said as being the de facto rationale for this content being here, based on educated guesses. But I'm not happy with that. I want to know the facts, and it's really hard to factually define what the past is because you weren't there, and nobody was there that firmly documented it. And when they have written something about it, there's so much liberal explanation done when they're writing something in a book somewhere, doing something somewhere. They just write something, and who knows how accurate it is. But anyway, We're going to move on to the next article. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. This one private equity firm owns over a dozen of your favorite restaurants. And remember how I was saying very few people own quite a lot of what we are consuming and living in. The world that we live in is owned by quite a few people in the grand scheme of things. Rourke Capital has acquired or invested in restaurant brands from Subway to the Cheesecake Factory. We'll talk about it when we get on the other side of this. The snippet, though, says restaurant chains from Subway to Arby's to Buffalo Wild Wings have a common owner. Rourke Capital Group has been buying up restaurant chains for nearly 25 years. It's one example of how consumer brands have become consolidated under a handful of owners. No shit news if you've been listening to ohmTown Daily, which, by the way, is probably going to be changing names here in a little bit. Alex Bitter over at businessinsider.com put the article together and shows a picture of a Subway that is probably one of the cleanest that I've ever seen. It's one example of how consumer brands have become consolidated under just a handful of owners, is what the last thing says in the snippet. So over the last quarter century, Rourke Capital Group has bought up nearly 20 restaurant brands in the U.S. Its latest acquisition happened last year when it acquired Subway, which operates the most stores out of any restaurant chain in the U.S.
Do you think this is the same kind of thing that leads to companies like Rubio's shutting down?
Yes. I wonder if it's even in here.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was the same company, but it reminded me of that issue.
Because what ends up happening is money is spent, so that money is lost. It's given to some owner and their stakeholders. Their stakeholders may transfer over into the new business, but they get a piece of the action when their equity stake is merged into. There's before money and after money, like an investment. And so when something is bought, depending on how it's structured, money exfiltrates. It's gone. Doing okay? And so they start to, so the company basically has to recoup that lost money, that cash. It's cash on hand that's now gone, and the stakeholders in the company that acquired it, they want a return. So they don't want that money just going out. Oh, okay, now we have it. They're going to start jacking up prices or trimming costs, some way to increase the margin to recover. Okay. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, folks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think their focus is like, hey, let's make sure the customers like the menu, or let's make sure we've got good service, or that the prices are not outrageous, or any number of other things, right? It's like it's a completely different mindset, I think, than a restaurant owner.
Yeah. So a restaurant owner, like I have worked with restaurant owners, and the idea there is basically, well, I got to make enough money to support myself and pay the salaries of the people that are working with me. And I may or may not have other investors that I have to pay some compensation to. But when a capital group moves in, they're all about increasing the margin and mitigating costs. And that can end up shuttering a business if the return on investment doesn't manifest. So it may be sold off for parts, it may be sold off entirely and spun out again to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much, I don't know. It's just like it's so far removed. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the mergers and acquisitions thing that we talk about frequently.
And that's what this is.
It's just, I don't know, maybe you could have a restaurant just to perhaps serve food and, yes, make a small profit.
Yeah, and that's not how it works. When these big groups come in, like they own Inspire Brands, which owns Sonic and Buffalo Wild Wings, Arby's. So now you have Dunkin' Donuts, Jimmy John's, Baskin Robbins, Arby's, Buffalo Wings, Sonic under Inspire Brands, right? So now you have those companies all having to make profit, not only to pay for themselves, but to pay for Inspire Brands, which pays Rourke Capital Group.
Well, right. I mean, again, it's all about the dollars, right?
Right. Yep. So the private
Or you
equity
would say,
firm,
greedy bastards. But maybe not this company. I mean, I assume that's not their motto.
I'm sure that they're very happy with 1% of whatever. I'm sure. The private equity firm also has investments in the Cheesecake Factory, which is publicly traded, as well as Midwestern burger chain Culver's. It also owns the bakery chain Nothing Bundt Cakes, which I just recently saw somewhere. Where was it? Yeah, I'm not sure. And some franchises in Seattle's Best, the coffee chain you used to find in Borders Books.
Oh, yes. Remember those things called bookstores?
Bookstores? No, I don't know what you're talking about. So Rourke has $38 billion in assets under management, according to its website, but that's probably less. Like it's lower than what they actually have, because who updates their website in real time? The firm was named after Howard Rourke, the protagonist in Ayn Rand's book, The Fountainhead. So little on the nose. The firm's website reads,
"Oh my!"
Rand's book of a following among libertarians and other advocates of deregulation and individual enterprise, which completely look, I've read Rand's books, and out of all of it, it disavows itself of abuses of business owners, of customers, the market, government, etc. But we have seen nothing but that in mega corporations. Once you peel back the layers of the onion, you see abuses, and it scales. A smaller business makes smaller abuses. And so, of course, it's better to not have any regulation and oversight, because then you can do whatever the hell you want to. That's how you have, the historical record shows children cleaning fireplace,
being like a chimney sweep.
A chimney sweep, yeah. Which Hyundai is like, yeah, okay, let's do it again. And have 14-year-olds working in the metal stamping plant. So give me a freaking break.
And during the night shift too.
Yeah. So I'm happy with a happy medium. Hooters was acquired by Triartisan Capital Advisors and Nord Bay Capital in 2019, for instance. While Rourke owns a lot of restaurant brands, it's hardly the only private equity player in the industry. So the article
timing's interesting, because a lot of restaurants have been shutting down locations, but on the other hand, there are other things going on, right? Like supply chain disruptions, and people didn't dine out during the pandemic and whatever. But like, are they attributable to these acquisitions?
Yeah, because you can see, if you look, you'll find out that, the margins weren't right, the market wasn't right, but it's really all the profit wasn't right, and so we're trimming, quote unquote, the fat, less opportunity at the less opportune locations. So TGI Fridays has retracted, and PF Chang's has retracted, or transitioned, because PF Chang's, for instance, went commercial in the sense that they do frozen foods in supermarkets.
Oh, right. Yes.
And TGI Fridays has done the same thing. And then when you talk to somebody that's in the industry about TGI Fridays, it's all boil in a bag kind of stuff is what they have told me. And so they want line chefs, or they want line cooks. They don't want chefs, is what I was told as well.
Right, like don't be too inventive, right? Stick to the formula.
Yeah, because that's what you have. That's what you do. You basically are cooking certain things, and there's like zero deviation from it. They just want you to be fast and efficient, which anything in a kitchen and in food service is just painful. I mean, you have to really love it, and it's a real grind unless you really love cooking. And so kudos to everybody that does that. But then you get some capital group coming in, buys your chain out, and says you're doing it wrong because our margins aren't right. Your passion is great and all, but we want 12%, not 11.
True. So are you telling me TGI Fridays doesn't have an elaborate cooking system like at Waffle House?
Yeah, go look that up. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's like that. But it's pretty wild. Go and look up how Waffle House operates. I don't know if they still do it that way. I'm really curious.
I don't either, but
Okay.
there is at least one video on YouTube on that topic, and it's very entertaining.
So I'm gonna go. I'll put you. I'll put your camera. I'll attach your camera so that you can see, and I'll take you to Waffle House, and you can see for yourself if it operates the way that we see it on the internet.
And we can report back here in ohmTown Daily.
That's right. Okay, we need to play catch up. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Florida is now using drones to fight mosquitoes, and I call this Dronesquitoes. In some parts of the country, mainly the hot, humid parts, humanity's relationship with the friendly insect known as mosquito. Friendly insect known as mosquito? I
Friendly. It is friendly in terms of the mosquito seems to get very friendly with humans, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't ask first.
That's true.
Can I bite you? No. Well, I'm going to bite you anyway. Yes, all mosquitoes are French. Anyway, it can be quite
Based
contentious.
on what?
Just, I don't know.
You don't have to answer that.
So we just lost Franz as a sponsor.
Francis was like, wait a second, we don't have to be associated with the mosquito. In fact, too soon because of the Olympics. Remember, we did some reporting on that.
Like, we don't even like our mimes, for crying out loud. Don't tie us to mosquitoes. Why are you tying us to mosquitoes? That is so wrong. Not only do these wonderful little pests swarm you, suck your blood, and leave unattractive splotches all over your skin, but they're also known to transmit many bad things. Disease-spreading bugs is what they are. Florida's now using drones to fight mosquitoes. Lucas Ropek over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. Federal governments are turning to automated vehicles to take out dangerous disease-spreading bugs.
Local governments.
What did I say?
Federal.
Oh, did I? I must have merged everything together in my head. Not federal. They couldn't be doing it on their own, though. They would have to. I don't know. Let's find out. They say local at the top, though. The deck statement says local governments are turning to automated vehicles to take out dangerous disease-spreading bugs. Look at that thing. So what do you do for a living?
Close-ups of mosquitoes are kind of terrifying.
God, that thing just looks alien. Well, I know it's going to be the lead in the next horror story, all right? Broward County, Florida. No, the mosquitoes, actually.
Well, one could work too.
Yeah, Florida bug. Broward County, Florida recently began using one of the automated devices to spray for mosquitoes in hard-to-reach places. Like where?
Wait a second, that sounds a little off.
Like, apparently Broward County is like Florida's taint. According to a report from South Florida Sun Sentinel on Wednesday, local governments routinely spray mosquito breeding grounds to kill the larvae that could ultimately grow into dangerous disease-carrying bugs. Until recently, teams had to be sent out to Florida's marshy environs, where Aedes mosquitoes, A-E-D-E-S, Aedes mosquitoes, also known as yellow fever mosquitoes, laid their eggs. Now Broward officials can send out drones to get the job done without any need for human suffering, the Sentinel reports. Until now,
hey, wait a second. So you're going out to the marsh. Think about where this is, Florida. Probably facing off with alligators. Maybe facing off with the very mosquitoes that you're trying to prevent. This sounds like a really good job.
Yeah, don't worry about the alligators. I mean,
if you come back, we'll pay you for your shoes.
Exactly. I want to be paid first. No, paid after. Quote, these poor guys have to go in there, end quote, lamented Anton, A-N-H-T-O-N, Anton. director of Broward's Highway and Bridge Maintenance Division, a division of the county's Public Works Department, which oversees Mosquito Control Division.
Okay, the fact that they have a mosquito control division is really shocking and concerning.
Yep. Yeah, this is really bad. In California, Orange and Santa Clara counties, among others, recently began doing similar tactic with drones. So, yeah, drones are pretty much, I don't know, the internet of physical space. It can get anywhere, nearly unlimited range, nearly functional to the point where it can do anything. It just has to have an adapter, you know? Maybe that's what somebody needs to do, is create like a multi-tool adapter. Huh.
Sounds like an excellent idea.
I said nothing. Everybody out there, forget. I'm going to delete this. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. A woman was airlifted out of the Grand Canyon as dozens of hikers get sick from an unnamed illness. Apparently in Havasupai Falls, in the Grand Canyon National Park, tourists experienced vomiting, diarrhea, and fever symptoms. Officials said that people in the northern Arizona region are experiencing gastrointestinal illness.
You know what's really weird about this is that this is all presumably outdoor something, which does not track, right? Like you think of this maybe in a cruise ship environment or other...
somewhere there's stagnant water, right?
Right.
So I don't know if this is where it's actually held and there wasn't, I mean, it's a waterfall. If this is actually the location, that's really amazing. But this is Getty Images, so I don't know.
Right.
But the article is over at Business Insider by Lauren Edmonds. And I don't know if they're going to say anything.
That is actually Havasu Falls, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been there, so.
I looked up a photo and it looks exactly like that.
Gotcha. Illness broke out near Havasu Falls in the Havasupai Indian Reservation in Arizona this week. Mary Blair told Fox 10 that her family was finishing a 4-day hike in the area when her son became sick, throwing up diarrhea all night. Got him in the river. We were in there at midnight, 1 o'clock, just to lower his body temperature and contaminate the water with whatever.
Exactly. I'm like, not really the best maneuver there.
Wow. So
see, I would have thought this is like heat exhaustion or something like that. I mean, this is really odd for an outdoor environment.
I mean, heat stroke can lead to certain things. I don't think diarrhea is one of them, but this is brutal. All the way up, all of us were passing people who were throwing up, and that's when I was like, what the heck is going on? There's probably 60 to 70 people down the line. There are multiple people throwing up. So what the hell? 104 temperature, fever-like symptoms. People were violently ill. Gastrointestinal symptoms. It could be all kinds of things. This is
really unusual. I mean, hopefully it's very localized, but part of the reason this was submitted is it just stood out from other illness reporting.
And they don't know what it was. It says these types of outbreaks can be ongoing if appropriate safeguards are not in place. Representatives for the Arizona Department of Health Services and Indian Health Services did not respond to Business Insider's request for comment. Yeah, well, it was probably Friday. This thing it'll heal, it'll cure, it'll go away.
Health Services probably doesn't even have a report yet. I mean, if this just happened, they're probably like, what is this?
Did you file the right paperwork? All right. Well, good luck to everybody. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Man received proof of package delivery photo and stunned by where it was left. Fortunately, the parcel was undamaged, but the owner was just relieved that he checked the delivery update before heading out. The article is over at newsweek.com by Alice Collins. When Chris Pickering received the notification saying that his Amazon package had arrived, he checked the delivery photo to confirm where it was. To his amazement, the package hadn't been left behind a plant pot or a trash can. It was wedged behind the tire of his car.
Okay, that's inventive, right, for delivery services.
Yeah, so there's a picture of it. This looks, though, like it's in front of the back tire, right? I mean, to me,
It does, because that looks like maybe a rear door.
yeah. So maybe they would. And hold on, where was it? It was in the UK. So that's the driver's side. This is a coupe.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so when you go to open this door, you're going to see that. Because they get on this side of the car. So, I don't know. Fortunately, Pickering's parcel valued at around $10 wasn't damn. Oh my gosh, not $10. So I'm really curious what the car was more than anything before hopping into his car. He would have to trip over the damn package based on what I can tell. Before collecting the item from outside, Pickering took to Reddit and shared the delivery photo on the mildly infuriating thread. So yeah, I don't know about how mildly. I think it's kind of hilarious. You couldn't miss it. So
I agree, but sometimes you have to go hunting for packages, but I can't decide if that's a good or bad. I mean, if it's on the driver's side, at least you would know it's there.
Yep. Yeah. And you can't tell what kind of car this is. I'm sure somebody that's really informed.
No, but people apparently commented on the car itself, even though it didn't seem like it included the brand in the article.
Oh, really?
Like, the car got a lot of attention. Car looks like a shark.
Oh, yeah. So I wonder what kind of car it is. Yeah, that line is actually one of those aerodynamic elements where people go, oh, yeah, okay, I know exactly what kind of car it is, but I can't remember. But to me, it's a coupe. So it has a short wheelbase, and it's, 4 inches from here to here, and there's your package. Don't be a dork. Just pick it up.
Exactly. But the other thing is, there used to be a concept of like a package being delivered to the actual door area.
Oh my goodness. Come on.
I think we're so long past that.
I'm surprised that they slow down.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe that, although that wouldn't make sense based on where it was compared to the tire. Like if they lobbed it into the driveway area, maybe that's how it landed.
It glided right into that spot. Let's keep going. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Crews rescue 28 people trapped upside down high. Wait, upside
what?
down. The way that this is written, because it's Oregon, maybe there's a whole lot of commas that are missing. Right?
Yes.
Crews rescue 28 people trapped upside down high on Oregon amusement park ride. So
high up, not high.
But it doesn't say high up. It just says crews rescue 28 people trapped upside down high on Oregon Oregon amusement park ride. Emergency crews have rescued 28 people after they were stuck for about half an hour dangling upside down on a ride at a century-old amusement park in Oregon. They wish they were high.
Okay. Do you think there's a problem even from, like, would you go on an upside down ride that's centuries old?
Sure. A lot of roller coasters are centuries old. Sure.
Well, you mean like they were in the late 1900s or something,
sure.
I guess.
Yeah, come on. So I'm really curious what this is, and I didn't know that they made them go upside down that far back, but emergency crews in Oregon.
But I just realized that's the park, not the ride.
Yeah, there you go. So the park could have been there since 1920, but Portland Fire and Rescue said on social media platform Twitter that firefighters worked with engineers at Oaks Park to manually lower the ride, but crews had been preparing to conduct a high-angle ropes rescue if necessary. All riders were being evacuated and medically evaluated, and there were no reports of injuries. So this one rider with pre-existing medical condition was taken to a hospital for further examination. Medics released all other passengers. The ride, called Atmosphere, operates like a pendulum with the capacity to swing riders completely upside down. Oh, it's not a roller coaster. It was just a ride that
Oh, I
It's
see.
like one of
And it
those.
just happened to get stuck when it's upside down. Great.
Nice. Yeah. They don't have a thing of it, I don't think. No, they don't. Come on. It's not that hard to find a Getty image of an upside down
Well,
pendulum.
that's true. Yeah.
It says, oh my God, they are upside down. People were saying that. Yeah. They decided to walk away because of how scary the situation was, he said. They eventually got to the Ferris wheel and heard a loudspeaker announcement that the park was closed and that people should evacuate. There's 28 riders upside down. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. It might be if you're one of the 20 people.
So it's a unique Portland blend of modern thrills and turn-of-the-century charm on a midway that has delighted generations of Northwesterners and hung them upside down for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Their marketing is right on the target. The next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Robot cars get a big push in China's cities. The article is over at Autoblog, and it's actually not behind the paywall. Interesting. Okay. New York Times reports on the country testing more autonomous cars than anywhere else. Can't imagine why. I don't know. Because now, anyway. So earlier this month, the paper said on June 4th, Beijing authorized 9 Chinese automakers, including NIO, BID, SAIC Motor. Is that SAIC like the United States company?
I don't think so. I think I've seen that before. I think it's a different organization.
Oh, interesting. So I guess, okay, whatever. To begin tests of advanced assisted driving systems that go beyond Tesla's full self-driving, which don't really work all that well. Also, it said that China's Society of Automotive Engineers forecast, that was a hard word to actually say properly, that 20% of the cars sold in China in 2030 will be completely driverless, and that another 70% will have advanced assisted driving technology. So nearly 100% will have advanced or better assisted driving technology.
Okay.
Yeah. So China has a step up in the field because electric cars in that country comprise about 25% of the total market compared to 7%, and driverless technology works much better with battery electric cars than with gasoline-powered cars or most hybrid gasoline and electric cars. Not sure why driverless technology would work much better with battery electric cars than with gasoline-powered cars or hybrid.
Nor would I. That doesn't really make any sense.
I guess the instant on and off of the motors, right? I guess.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's simpler.
They don't have to worry about refueling, so it's less.
Well, yeah, there is that.
Bother.
It's a little tough to get that part done, right?
But then they have to sit there and park near a charger, so it charges it, and they have to sit there for hours.
Right, and do they have to use that retractable charger that we featured in another episode?
Oh yeah, that one that just comes out like a umbilical that's automated and is really alien creepy shit there. Well, here, just to put some icing on the cake of this about how advanced China is compared to the United States, guess what takes place in China a lot more than here in it doesn't even take place in the United States, but guess what takes place in China?
Well, can you narrow it down?
Nope. Well, yeah, it's narrowed to the electric car space. Fast swap batteries. You're fired.
Buy EVs?
Fast
right,
swap
the fast
battery.
swap. That's right.
Get out. You're fired. Chinese companies set up crucial research facilities in the United States and Europe and sent the results back home, he writes. He being a Times reporter, Keith Bradshaw, author of the report, and that is that another issue that affects the autonomous driving scenario is data transfer. So Chinese companies set up research here in the States and then sent everything back home. But any research in China is not allowed to leave the country. As a result, it's difficult for foreign car makers to use what they learned in China to sell, or for cars that they sell in other countries. So, hey, you know.
Well, I mean, there's different rules and different infrastructure and all kinds of different variables.
Sure. Yeah. That's okay. You can take advantage and never mind. Okay, anyway. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Jeep Wagoneer S versus Tesla Model Y, as in, why would I buy that? Can Jeep take out the most popular EV? Jeep has taken the wraps off the Wagoneer S, its first major attempt at an electric vehicle, but how does the car compare with the Model Y?
Is a Jeep Wagoneer like what kind of? Oh, it's an SUV.
So that's not the Y. Hold on. Where is the?
It's like a. Is it a sedan?
There it is.
Oh, okay.
So it's weird that they're kind of doing apples and oranges. The Y is more of a SUV than it's a crossover style car. But
I guess because that's the leading one, that's why they're comparing it to it, even if they're not similar.
Yeah, I mean this is not the Y. Sorry, that's what I was saying. This isn't the Y. This is an S. But that's not what they're talking about. I don't know how what's going on here.
Yeah, that's really strange. That's what was confusing to me.
Yeah, because that isn't the Y. That's an S. See, but there's a launch edition of the Wagoneer S, which is the first one. The Wagoneer S measures 192 inches long, 74.8 inches wide, 64.8 inches, and 64.8 inches wide. So why
that red vehicle looks like the Y?
That?
Mm-hmm. From something I'm looking at, it might not be, but it's very similar to that.
Hold on a second. Hold on, I'm trying to see something. That's the Y? Then I'm confused.
I don't think I've ever seen one.
Well, I have, but
maybe they redid it like as they released a new year or something.
Huh.
I mean, maybe it's like the Mach-E, right? Where it's like it's a Mustang, but it doesn't look anything like a Mustang.
Hold on a second. Sorry, I'm doing it live, folks. I'm doing it live. Oh, okay. I thought that was the X.
I can't keep track of them. I just know, like, the Tesla symbol, for example.
Yeah, because if you pull up the X, I confused the Y and the X, because the X has the gull wing doors. It pops up open and it's kind of chunkier, and that's what I mixed the two together. So, yeah. So there you go.
I mean, to me, it's no contest, at least from the appearance of the vehicles.
So, let's see. Christian, I didn't say who the author of the article was or the source. So Christian de Looper is the author of the article over at digitaltrends.com. And they write about the design, interior and tech, performance, range and charging, price and availability, as well as conclusions from their perspective of a comparison between the Wagoneer S and the Model Y. It says they're in different price ranges, but there are still areas where the Model Y is actually better than the Wagoneer S. But which is better overall, and they have their own opinion of it. The Jeep apparently has a 600 horsepower, this launch version of it, launch edition of it, apparently is a 600 horsepower Wagoneer S.
That's kind of surprising, right? For an SUV?
What's the price on this? Let me see. So it's at the end. I'm going to scroll really fast, everybody. Sorry about that. So the Tesla Model Y is available right now and can be ordered for a base price of $45,000. However, keep in mind that it's eligible for a full $7,500 federal EV tax rebate. So you'll really only pay 37,400 if you
Unless you
qualify
want
for the
seats.
credit. Yeah, really. See, that looks like the 3. I swear, man, I can't even tell them apart anymore, I guess. Yeah, but I know now that the X is the one that has the gull wing doors, and it looked like the X to me. Or I should say, I thought the X was the Y.
I mean, I don't think any of the Tesla shapes are particularly notable, and so like they don't have a distinctive look to me.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, they all look the same until you get to like the $150,000 version of it, and it's just got anyway. There's a lot of variables here, and then the billionaire fever dream that is the Tesla Cybertruck, but the Wagoneer S starts at 72,000. So even if you get the credit, you'll knock it down to 65,000. But the problem here
What a
is
bargain for an EV.
the Wagoneer though is this, I mean, it's a beast of a car. It's this. Hold on, let me scroll up. It's this, it's completely different than
Yeah, I think they're completely different markets. I think people that want a Jeep are different than people that want a Tesla, etc.
Yeah. So unless the article, I mean, look at the inside. This is the Jeep's interior. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but I don't know. It looks like more conventional and it has like all kinds of buttons and stuff all over it. I don't know. But unless you're in the market for a $70,000 car that can seat what looks like 6 people, I don't know. I don't know how you can compare the two. Jeep also hasn't specified exact charging speed, but it said that the Wagoneer S will go from 20% to 80% in 23 minutes. But then, see, here's the problem. Jeep has promised a range of over 300 miles. Okay. So you're going to get 20% less than that. So 260 miles. And then every 2 years, you're going to lose, or every year, you're going to lose 2% of those 300 miles. So 80% is never 300 miles. It's always 240 miles.
Well, that's right. And we don't know what it's actually going to be. And it could be like 250 or something once it gets rated.
And then when you charge to 80%, you're not getting 250 miles. You're getting 80% of 250 miles. So 50 miles less than that. So it just doesn't really make any sense here, or whatever. My math might be broken there, but anyway, you're not getting as much out of it. And if I have to sit for 30 minutes, my biggest gripe about EVs is that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make economic sense because time is money. If I have to sit around every time I drive 200 miles so that my car gets to 80%, you're out of your mind. So they say that the Model Y wins for its price while the Wagoneer wins for its performance. That's because it's a beast with 600 horsepower, for crying out loud, based on what we read earlier. You'll need to keep that in mind. It'll lose the range category with a 279 mile range compared to the Wagoneer's above 300 mile range is what they're quoting, but who knows what it'll actually be when the rubber hits the road. So they say you really need to decide what's important to you. If you're looking to save cash, the Model Y is clearly a better choice. But again, the Model S is not an SUV. I'm sorry, the Model Y is not an SUV. The X is probably the closer to the SUV style, but it still looks like more like a crossover than anything. Whereas the Wagoneer EV is a full-on SUV. So this thing you have to climb into it. It's not a low-slung vehicle.
No,
anyway,
it's just there aren't any similarities.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's it for ohmTown Daily News Show. We're going to jump into our Jeep Wagoneer and stomp on the...
Oh, you picked the Wagoneer.
What would you... Yeah, of course. What would you... You can't stomp on the gas in an EV. So just the pedal. You're going to stomp
battery?
on the... Yeah. We're going to lick the battery...
The start button?
Connects. Yeah. We're going to hold the two ends of the battery connector and race down Main Street. Dunk. And that's where we are today. But that's it for ohmTown Daily News Show for today. We've got 3 more shows right after this one, but we stop and reset and then come back. The next show is Reality Hacker. We'll be back in probably about 15 minutes, so 6:45, let's say. And that's Eastern. And functionally, we're running a little late, but we'll play catch up with the next show. See you in a little bit. Oh, I'm Mayor Watt saying bye, and the sentient AI's neurons right there.
Right here.
I can't ever catch them.
Right there.
Doggone.
Okay, good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for ohmTown Daily. Come back for our weekly episodes.
Yep. See you in a little bit. I just electrocuted myself.